Hey everybody, I'm sitting on a pillow.
Yeah, you are damn short, that is for certain.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Nightmare Collective. I'm Chris.
And I'm Dave.
Welcome, Dave.
Thank you. It's glad to be here.
Alright guys, so today we're going to be doing our first spoiler cast, basically. This is going to just be all spoilers for the recent release that is Barbarian. So we just came out of the movie.
Yeah, what an insane movie that was. It was absolutely fucking crazy.
It was. So like I said in my non-spoiler review, if you haven't watched that, check that out. If you haven't seen the movie, check that out first. I definitely recommend going into this movie as blind as possible and not knowing anything, because I think that definitely makes the experience better if you don't know what's going to happen. So if you haven't checked that out, I'll put a card up here. Check that out first, then you can come back and watch this video. But we're going to get into major spoilers for the whole thing. Yeah. So I guess let's get into it. So first off, how did you like the movie overall? Just what are your general thoughts of the movie before we get into deep spoilers?
Overall, this movie has so many twists and turns that you just never absolutely see coming at all. 100%. It just blows expectations at every twist and corner. You think it's going to be one movie, and then it turns into another movie. And then you think it's going to be another movie, and then it turns into something completely else.
I feel like it's like you're walking through a maze, and then you just keep getting to brick walls that are like, hey, go this way, go that way, go this way, go that way. And then you finally end up in a totally different place than you started at. And you're like, you enjoyed it. But it is not where you thought you were going to end up. It's like going through a corn maze, and you're like, this should be the exit. And then you get to an exit, and you're in a totally different state.
Flat wall at every corner.
At every corner. So again, if you haven't seen my non-spoiler review, I love this movie. It's one of my favorite movies of the year. I think now, having seen it a second time, I definitely think that for me, I enjoyed it a lot more than I did X. I liked X for the most part, but I think for me, because this was so subversive in what I got, I think I enjoy the creativity of that, where I think X was just a well-made slasher.
I definitely agree with that. I would definitely put this at one of my top horror movies for the year that I have seen currently this year. It is insane. It is that exact kind of slow burn, psychological thriller that you really enjoy to see and you really enjoy to watch develop. The characters played amazing roles. It felt alive. The movie felt alive. It was wonderful.
And I think that's where this movie overtakes that movie for me, is the characters themselves. I thought the writing was good, and I think overall the story was just more interesting, because that movie is just kind of one thing the entire time. And yes, there's one thing that subverts your expectations, but from then on, it's just a well-made movie. Yeah. Whereas this, every character from the beginning, you're like, oh man, what is this person going to be? And then you get into another character, you're like, how's this character going to be? And then you get into your third character, like, oh shit, now that I know these two characters are like this, how's this character going to be?
By the time, at a certain point, you feel like there's three separate storylines going on at the same time. You have no clue where you're at. We actually eventually wrap around to the Ronald Reagan era, even though the movie's set in modern times. So it is insane to watch and insane to see it develop.
Yeah, so I think we'll try, we talked about this beforehand, we'll try to keep this act-based. So we're going to try and keep it the first part of the movie to where things shift, and the second part of the movie and the third part. We'll try. I can't guarantee that is going to be how it's going to be. So we're going to try and take it from beginning of the movie to when the first kind of brick wall hits and Bill Skarsgård gets killed and you see the creature for the first time. So we're going to try and talk about that, and then we'll move on to the next section. So overall, it's like we talked about before, I really like that opening of it, and I would have been happy with just that movie.
I would have, that movie was
Bill Skarsgård
a fine movie.
Weird and creepy and been a killer.
Yeah.
I would have been down for that.
Oh, yeah, because he plays this excellent role of, he's very hesitant about any information he gives out. He's comes off as this overwhelmingly nice guy that could have an ulterior motive, and it's just an amazing way of playing the character, in that situation.
Oh, definitely. The thing for me, though, is dude, his eyes, whenever you just look into his eyes, it's hard to not see Pennywise the whole time.
Oh, no, yeah. That's all you see every time you see him.
Him sitting at the table with the wine, he's just like, got that awkward look, and then, like, it's just those eyes. You're just like, oh, they're so piercing. I think that's what does it. It's not even his performance necessarily. It's just his looks.
It's piercing but dead at the same time. Yeah, like soulless eyes.
Something could be underneath there. There could be an ulterior motive, and I think that's what the movie does so well, is that it kind of puts you in this false sense of security at one point, because now they're like, oh, hey, we don't know each other. You could be a murderer. He's trying his best to convince her that he is not a murderer.
Yeah.
And then she does feel safe. We talked about this on the ride back, that, like, you know, she's locking every door. Yeah. Every time she goes in and out of a door.
And they make it a key point to show you that every time every time she goes in the room, she locks that door, and then the last time where Bill puts her in the room, says goodnight and everything like that, it makes it very obvious that she doesn't lock the door on that one. And then that's where the spooky shit starts happening.
Yeah, she feels safe finally. And so you're just like, oh, is this when it's going to happen? Yeah. You hear the door creak and you're like, oh, it's murder time.
It's murder time.
And then he's out there, like, having, like, these nightmares, like, night terrors. And so you're like, all right, is this guy just a murderer? And now he's just, like, reliving everything he's done. You know, these flashes. Yeah. But then she scares him. And there's this weird thing where you're like, it just keeps flip-flopping. You're like, man, I don't know what this movie is trying to tell me it is. It's like you keep trying to figure it out, and you can't keep on your toes, because every time you think you figured it out, it flips. And you're like, oh, shit, now this is something completely different than what I thought it was.
And you're playing Guess Who the entire movie, all the way through. You even to try to figure out who the main character of the movie is, like...
Oh, yeah, you don't know that it's her.
You don't know that it's her. You think you have a pretty good idea. Once Bill dies, like, it becomes a little bit more obvious that it's probably her, and then she just disappears for a third of the movie.
Yeah, it is super weird, because you're like...
You assume she's dead.
Yeah, so I went going in, like, when we got to that second act part, I was like, okay, we've had Tess and we've had Keith. We've had both those characters. We know now that Keith is dead. Mm-hmm. And then I just assumed that Tess was dead. I thought this was one of those movies where they're just like, oh yeah, we're going to introduce these two characters. We've marketed these two characters, but they're going to have nothing to do with the movie. Because Justin Long is in the movie, but they don't market Justin Long as much.
No, not at all. I think when I was looking up the clips for the online presence of this movie, you see one clip with Justin Long in it, and he, like, plays just like it's him with a tape measure. And that does come up later in the movie, but it's such a later on point in the movie.
And I assumed that because we knew that there was some kind of tunnel that they were going in, or a basement of some kind, because they really didn't show you, like, you saw some of the stairs. I assumed that he was just there already. And we were just going to flip to, like, it was one of those movies that you show these two new characters, they both die, and then you flip to the guy who's been there. And it's about him getting out. That's what I assumed when we got that first kill. I was like, okay, this is going to be, like, something that's happening now, and then we're going to flash to maybe a new character coming in, and the same thing happened, and it's going to be about Justin Long trying to get out.
Yeah.
And so, like, that's where we go into, like, but by the end of that first act, when you're like, she finally goes down there, and he gets his head fucking crushed into the wall, like, by this, like, 9-foot chick that is just, like, out of her mind.
Out of her mind. Titties flopping everywhere. Yeah. Just titties everywhere.
She comes out of nowhere. That is a moment where you're just like, you expect something to be down there, but not that.
No, like, not that at all. On my title card, on my bingo card for going into the movies today, 9-foot incestual giant was not on the bingo card. On the list. It was not on the list. Unfortunately, I lost at bingo today, but that's how it goes.
I think we all lost at bingo this movie.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody got that in this movie. Even when it unfolds further later on, I don't even think that was in the cards for me.
No.
I never saw that coming. I'm telling you, like, this, it's a great subversion of expectations in the best way. Because I think sometimes people try, like, a recent movie was Bodies, 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 and they did that, but I really wasn't a fan of, like, how it all came together. Because, yes, they did subvert my expectation of the movie. I just didn't think it was satisfying. This was a satisfying conclusion, plus I also wanted to know more.
Yeah.
I was very interested in the world that they had built, and now that you've shown me this much, I want to know this much.
It's definitely a movie that you, like, really hope for, like, a sequel just to get just that bit, just a little bit of answers out of it, because There are a lot of questions at the end.
And I will say, I've stated this multiple times on the channel, and even recently in my Orphan First Kill video, that I'm not a huge fan of prequels.
No.
Not at all.
Not at all.
Red Dragon is probably one of the few prequels that I really like.
But that one was a good one.
But that's because it's a good one. Even the book and the movie, I enjoy both of them. I think this would be the first one where I would be okay with learning where this came from. Because you don't really know anything, and I think also, like, that helps you further, like, this movie. So, another one, I'm really hoping that Pearl is good this week, because that's a prequel to X, and I think that could go both ways. That could be, you know, learning about Pearl's character. It could be very interesting, because you just she kind of comes on the scene, and you're like, oh, now she's just murdering people? You don't know why, so kind of showing where she came from is interesting. So I think this is another movie that it could be interesting if done correctly, which this movie was done very well. So I feel like you could do that well also, but I'm not sure what they're doing. He is making another movie, but he said that he's writing it in the middle of it, so I don't know if it's going to be a prequel to this or if it's a completely different movie, so we'll have to wait and see.
Either way, I'm excited for it. Like, this has definitely shown that...
Zach Krieger.
He has some... definitely good director chops. It is a fantastic movie. There is not a single point where you're like, okay, yeah.
There's no...
Keep moving on. No, it's exciting the entire time.
There's no fluff in this movie.
No, there is no fluff.
That's the thing. There's nothing in this movie that happens that isn't there for a reason. Which I like. Normally in movies, like, they're like, especially in horror movies, you're like, oh, I didn't really need to have that kill. Or there's that, like... typical, like, Scream type thing where the first person get killed but has nothing to do with the rest of the movie, you know? And like I said, I thought that's where we were going. We were doing it, so I played with that trope, like, look, we're going to kill off these two people, and then they have nothing to do with the movie. This is not that. Like, you know, they very much are a key to the rest of the movie. So I think we can probably move on to our second act stuff. Unless you have anything else to say.
I do have one thing to say is that the relationship building that they put to put Tess and Keith together, Bill Skarsgård's character, and I don't remember the other actress's name. I don't have it on the top of my head.
Campbell. I cannot remember.
Yeah, but the relationship building they have is great because she's very skittish, very shy at the beginning, and then it seems like they are just becoming the best of friends. And then, as we get into Act 2, which we're about to get into, Bill Skarsgård's character gone like that. Just out of the movie. 100%.
Yeah, and even up until that point, he does play this, like he's going down into the basement. He doesn't believe her. He's like, oh, there's a room with a bed and a bucket and a camera. Yeah. He seems like not perturbed at all by a thing that would be... He's like, nah, it's just a basement. I'm like, that's not a normal basement, man. Have you seen the neighborhood we're in? There's like derelict houses all around us, and you find a room that has a bloody handprint, a bucket, a bed, and a camera in it, and you're just like, nah, nothing to worry about.
Nah, I just
didn't see it. I just didn't see it with my own eyes.
It's just a blood and shit covered bed.
I'm like, he does mention it one time. He's like, nah, I can sleep anywhere. I'm like, where have you been sleeping, sir? That this just seems like normal to you in comparison to the rest of this house.
How bad is Detroit really?
Come on. That's what I want to know. Like, where have you been that this is like a 5-star hotel right here? You're like, nah, that's fine. So, like I said, she comes out of nowhere. She smashes his brains in. Tess gets taken. Presumably gets killed.
At that point, because Bill is very quick, just smashes his head into the wall.
Yeah.
You think her death is also going to be just as quick, you just
don't see it.
Write her out. Like, you might as well just be done with their character arcs.
Yeah, and I mean, I felt like they may, be able to bring her back, because I was like, when I saw it the first time, I was like, okay, well, maybe she'll come back, but maybe she's also dead, and then maybe, like, whoever comes finds her body. That's what I was thinking.
That's what I was thinking. I thought that we were going to get Justin's Long characters coming in later, and then he was going to find both the dead bodies of the two individuals, and, like, that's when, like, the real movie was going to start. But it's not what happened at all. Not nearly.
Yeah, so, I mean, this movie hard cuts twice.
Yes.
That are, like, very effective.
Yes.
So this hard cuts from dude getting his brains bashed in to Justin Long singing in a convertible, like, on the California coast.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And then, like, it hard cuts even then, because, like, it's this happy, cheerful time.
Totally, it is a hard cut.
And then that's when we find out Justin Long is the biggest fucking douchebag on the planet.
Yeah.
He is, in fact, you want to go ahead and say it?
Yeah, I don't know if we can say the actual word though. He does something to a woman.
Yes,
YouTube does not like that word at all.
Not
Presumably
at all.
At this point, he's being accused of something with this woman.
Right.
They don't outwardly tell you.
It makes it very obvious that the people around him do not believe Justin's character at all. That he is even decent enough to not have committed this act. So it is you are meant to believe that he is a douchebag right off the gate.
Right off the bat, yeah, because he's having this conversation with, I'm presuming that these are his agents.
Yeah.
And maybe a lawyer or something. They're calling him about this show. He's an actor. And so when this happened, I was like, okay, there's a couple ways we can handle the subject matter that we are talking about. This could go very poorly.
Yeah.
And they could handle this very poorly. If this is, like we talked about, if this is a dude who did something to this woman, and then by the end of this movie comes out, and he is like the hero of this movie, like, I'm not down for that.
Yeah,
this is where we're going. I saw your face. I looked over because I was like, I want to see his reaction when this happens. It's just like
it was a very cringe moment.
Your whole body tenses because you're just like, oh, I hate this guy.
Yeah.
I really hate. It's meant to be like that.
It is 100%. You're supposed to hate that character. They still build up his character throughout the entire thing. We even don't get the confirmation. Like, you assume that he's guilty the entire time, but you don't get that confirmation until he meets a friend in Detroit. Yeah, and back to the house, because
it kind of goes back and forth. Yeah, it's like, and in between this, I mean, so he owes a lot of money. He's trying to pay for his lawyer, and so he owns the house in Michigan. We find out. Yes. So that's why he ends up in Michigan. He owns this house, and so he's trying to liquidate some assets of him. Mm-hmm. So he goes to the house. He's like, okay, I'm going to go down here, see if I can sell this house, and then see if I can get some money to pay my lawyer. Yeah. But his lawyer insinuates that, hey, you probably shouldn't have left the state.
Probably shouldn't have left the state.
You might be in handcuffs by the end of this, it's probably in your best interest to get your ass back here.
Yeah. And what does he do? None of that shit.
None of that. He does not.
He goes out and parties and gets drunk, and then admits to his friend, "Yeah, I'm a real persistent guy." Yeah. She said no at first, but then she was kind of into it.
Yeah. I'm a very I'm Eye of the Tiger. That's his literal words.
Literal words.
I was like, oh man, is this what like Harvey Weinstein says like in jail? He's like, yeah, man, no, I just did a lot of convincing. Yeah, I'm sure you did, Harvey Weinstein.
I'm sure, 100%, bud.
Yeah, so. We get it. He goes in, and like this is where a lot of the comedy of the movie comes in. Yes. And where you see where Zach plays this very well. He is one of the dudes from Whitest Kids You Know, if you were unaware of that. Yeah. And so a lot of the humor comes in at this point. It's like, you don't cast Justin Long unless you're going to use him in some way. So now it's like, now I see why he got cast. Because like, Drag Him to Hell, he very much plays a very straight character. Just Jeepers Creepers the same way. This is playing to his strength as a comedian and as a comedic actor, that he is the most unlikable person, which is very difficult because Justin Long is so likable that you're just thinking, you're like, oh, I love Accepted. I love Dodgeball. And
you love everything that Justin Long's in, but as soon as they get into his character, you immediately go into the mode of, I am no longer rooting for Justin Long's character at all.
I kind of pictured this if that's how Justin Long was like really in real life. Yeah. Like, if you found out you met him and like this was actually who he was, he's playing that very well, where he's kind of playing himself if he was a terrible person.
If he was a terrible person.
Yeah, so I think he could very much play that. He's like, well, I can just play myself because I am an actor. Mm-hmm. And then I'm just going to be terrible and be shitty. Yeah. And he's just playing up the persona of being a douchebag actor. Mm-hmm. Of like, why is nobody cleaning this place? This is a fucked up system. And he thinks everything should just be the way that it's supposed to be.
Everything should be handed to him.
He's an actor, and like he's playing that like entitled person.
Yes.
Very well. And so we get to the point where he comes to the house. He ends up going to the basement because he thinks people are living in the house. And he does one of the funniest things in the whole movie, where he goes down there and he sees this place. And then his first thought is not, hey, this is weird. He thinks, it cuts to a Google search where he's like, can basement space be considered like,
how can I make money off of this? Yeah. Like, I am needing money. Otherwise, 3 months, I'm out of money. Going to run out. I need money. How can I make this horrible, decrepit... Like, he's, like, happily taking measurements inside the room with the bed and the camera and the bucket that it was to keep people in there. And he's just, like, whistling away, just like knocking out 11 foot by 10 foot.
120 square feet here. This is this way.
Yeah.
And then he finds the other door going down into the tunnel, and he's like, oh shit, even more room. And so he takes the tape measure, pulls it down the staircase. It's like 9 feet. And so he just keeps measuring the further he gets in here. And then this is where the tone very drastically shifts again. And like I said, it works, and Zach did a very good job of being able to mix these tones. Because it could come across very goofy, but I think because of the characters that they built, none of it seems goofy. So Justin is a douche. It seems
like a very serious movie.
So when he's doing this, you're like, okay, he's just a douchebag. It's not him trying to be funny.
No,
it's just the actions, because it's so outlandish that you're like, this guy is such a douche that it's funny. That yes, he would go about like trying to find extra space and count it as square footage for the house. And so he goes down there. He comes across this like open room. There's just, it smells. There's like all this, bedding everywhere. There's just a VHS playing of this woman like breastfeeding her baby, and it's just like on a loop of like how it's pleasurable to breastfeed your baby and how it's a good experience for you and your baby, and you're just like, what the fuck is happening here? This is where it like takes another loop where you're just like, okay, what the fuck is happening here now? Like, you know? So, I mean, I think that gets us to a good point. If you have anything else to say about Act 2?
No, I don't have anything to say else about Act 2. This is actually where we introduce Mama back in. This is where she comes out of nowhere, fucks up Justin just a little bit. Yeah. And then that's where we get reintroduced back into Tess. We find out she's alive. She's in a hole in the ground, covered by a grate. Yeah. Getting fed baby milk out of a bottle.
It's real gross.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, guys. So now we're going to get into Act 3. And where we start off, this is going to be where we find Justin Long's character in... You know what? I don't even remember his name. I'm going to say, that's how douchey he is in this movie. I don't even remember his name.
Isn't it? I think it's even a douchey name. I think it's like AJ.
AJ, that's it.
It is AJ.
Yeah. I've seen this movie twice and can't remember his name. Because I'm just like so fixated on him just being such a douche that I'm just like, I don't even want to know this guy. He's not worth knowing his name.
It's not an exaggeration. We literally saw the movie less than 2 hours ago. Like we just got out of the theater, just coming in straight in. Yeah. Want to get this to you as quick as we could, and still can't remember his name.
I've seen it twice.
He's just such a fucking douche. He's just such a fucking douchebag, dude.
He is. So that's where we pick up. So we've got them in a hole, and then she is taking this. I'm assuming this is breast milk. I don't know.
Like, I mean, man, she got them titties flopping the entire movie. The entire movie.
And so she's just like shoving it down this grate, and then Tess is telling him like, "Hey, just drink it. She just wants you to be her baby." And so she drinks it, and you can tell she's like, I've been having to do this, and it's the most disgusting thing.
Must become Babby.
But he obviously doesn't want to stay alive because he's just like, no, I'm not doing it. No, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to drink the titty milk. I'm not going to do it. No titty milk for me. No titty milk for me. I'll die, thank you. No
monster milk.
I have such high standards as a human being.
Yeah, right.
You know, I'm such an elite person. I would never drink milk from a 9-foot tall ancestral demon lady.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know that I would either. But I'm just saying, like...
I'm going to be honest with you, I'd have to be real hard-pressed, because you can't tell what's in that bottle. It's just a white bottle with a yellow nipple.
But if somebody was already there and was like, hey...
You gotta drink it.
Don't anger her. Just drink it, or you're gonna die.
Yeah.
I'd probably drink that fucking milk.
Probably.
You know. Now, if I'd been there by myself.
Yeah.
How long did it take Tess to drink that? You know.
Yeah.
Did she get angry the first couple times, and then she's like, "Oh shit, I just gotta drink this, or I'm gonna die."
I think she might have
been there for weeks.
I think she might have just done it because she just saw Bill's head get smashed in like a cantaloupe.
But she seems smarter than AJ.
Yes, 100%.
You know, 100%. Other than her, like. Her biggest flaw is caring for people. I don't know if that's a flaw.
But she is a complete altruist.
She's the opposite of him.
100%. Yeah.
So that's the other dichotomy between the two of them is great because you have like the worst human being and the best human being locked together.
And the sad part of it is Tess doesn't even realize that Justin Long's character AJ is a douchebag the entire time. He is just coming off as this scared kind of guy, and she just wants to help him. And then she doesn't realize that he's just a terrible fucking human being. Like,
even there's multiple times where he like leaves her.
Yes.
He's just like, fuck you, I'm going off on my own. And she still wants to save him.
Yes.
Like she still is like
the entire time.
Like, hey, I need to save this guy.
That was, I would say that would probably be one frustrating aspect of this movie is because his character did not deserve saving.
Yeah, no.
And he got way too many chances.
Yeah.
Way too many chances.
He gets his comeuppance, don't you worry.
He does.
He definitely gets that.
In the most
it's so great.
fantastic way possible.
So, I say we should cut forward a little bit because we do need to mention something that happened earlier in the movie.
Yeah.
A character that was in the early part. I just wanted to, put him here as well because he's in both spots and you kind of don't know what his role is to the end. And that's going to be your homeless guy that lives near, the water tank.
Yeah. So there's a homeless guy who lives near the water tower. And his whole purpose in the movie is that he was in Act 1, he was this scary guy that Tess had realized that she was not in the greatest neighborhood. She saw the neighborhood in the daylight. It's just fucking deplorable. She goes for a job interview. She comes back. He comes running up like, hey, lady. Hey,
little girl.
Gotta get out of that house. Oh, yeah. Little girl. Little girl.
Sir, you could have handled this better.
Yes. He could have.
You're a deranged homeless man running at a girl who just got told she should not be in this neighborhood.
At all. Because it's a bad neighborhood. There's some connotation that it's a bad neighborhood.
Yeah.
And this homeless guy just keeps running up. She quickly gets in the house, just locks the doors. Yeah. And then that's when the basement gets introduced. Yeah. So that's the beginning of the basement part. Skip forward to the end. She is now escaping the tunnel with the scary demon lady.
Yeah, because Justin Long's character does not drink the milk.
Yes. Does not drink the milk.
And so she opens that grate. She drags his
ass out.
She's like, you know what? You want to drink the milk? Fine. Yeah. I'm going to make you drink my nasty ass titty.
Yeah. And no, she is literally holding him up to the tit. And
she's forcing him down because she's like, clearly this isn't working. I've got to bring you out.
I got to do it manually.
I got to manually do this.
Yeah.
So she gets there, and this is Tessa's opportunity to escape. So she jumps up, and she's barreling ass out there. Yeah. Yeah.
Breaks a window, is trying to climb out. As she comes through, she actually trips over the tape measure that Justin had dropped and makes this noise, right? And so Mama's coming. This big, scary demon lady. She's coming. You hear her. She's coming. Coming. She breaks the window at the top of the basement. Yeah. Starts to climb out. Homeless guy
drags her out.
Pulls her the rest of the way out. Tells her she should not ever go back in that house. She's got to be out of this neighborhood, out of this part of town by dark.
Yeah, she got lucky. Yeah. She survived.
Yeah. No one had ever survived before. And we find out later that man has been there for 15 years. And that scary demon lady has been there for 40 years.
So what happens after that is she gets out and she keeps telling him like, hey, we got to go back in.
We got to go back in. We got to save him. Got to save him.
Blah. And so she gets back in. She breaks her way back in. And that cuts to Justin Long's character, who is now trying to get away from her. And he keeps running now.
We did miss one part real quick. Mm-hmm. We missed the Detroit's finest being the absolute biggest pieces of shit. She contacts the police. Police show up.
Oh, yeah.
And then they just call her a crackhead and says, go away. Go away.
The only crime here is you broke this window.
Yeah, you broke this window. In this neighborhood where all the houses are destroyed around them, like the porch is missing, half the house is caved in, you broke this window.
And you would think,
and you're lucky I'm not making you come down to intake and make you sleep this off.
And you would think there would be something there because this is the one nice house, so that you don't think they would be like, something shady is obviously going on.
Yeah, you would kind of think hey, maybe there's actually some claim here. Something strange. And let's listen to her just a little bit. But they're just completely off-put by her the entire time.
And when she first called the cops, when she saw the homeless guy the first time, I was like, maybe they know stuff has been going on at this residence, and so they just don't go there. Yeah. That's what I was thinking. Okay, well, this lady's going to call. She got the address, and she's like, yeah, no, we got no officers that can come over there because people just disappear sometimes, and they are aware of it, but they know there's nothing they can do because they don't know what's going on. So that's kind of the inkling, and that could be true still. It could be like
100% could be the
and these
case.
Officers just don't know about it, you know. And so once they get there, they're like, yeah, no. We know about this. We were not dealing with this. Yeah. And so, so that happens. You cut to her. She breaks in. She's going to go save him. And then he gets out. He gets away from her. Mm-hmm. And he's running now. Anyway, he's running the opposite direction of the exit.
Yes, he's running deeper into the cavern, and then we hit a three-way. We hit a three-way brick wall, and there's a bell. And then with the bell, there's a line that leads down
the cavern to the right. Wires up top also.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And then there's a clear cavern to the left. Yep. Now, unfortunately, we never see what's in the clear cavern to the left. We think it's more horrifying monsters, but the movie never says it.
Yeah.
But in the cavern to the right is an even more horrifying monster. We find the old man that we are shown a flashback of earlier.
I wanted to leave you him that, we haven't mentioned the flashback.
We haven't mentioned the flashback, but let's talk about it right now.
Yeah.
So the flashback, we go back to the Ronald Reagan era. That's the era I was talking about earlier. We see this guy get into his car, goes to the store, says he's having a home birth to the lady.
Say, before, you can continue, but I like the way this is shot.
Mm-hmm.
It's shot very differently. Where it's right behind 100%. His head.
Yeah.
So it's just like off-putting thing where you can't see around him.
You can't see around him, but
it makes you unnerving.
You're third person viewing him the entire
weird,
time.
It's so close.
That over the shoulder cam.
It's like his head is like right here, and this is kind of what you're seeing. You're just seeing the back of his head when he's interacting with these people. It's very interesting.
And then he goes up to the shop lady. He's like, "I need plastic sheets."
Yeah.
Weird. Okay. And he's like, "I need baby diapers." And she's like, "What's going on? What are we doing? How old's your youngest?" He's like, "It's not here yet.
Not here yet.
We're having a home birth."
You're like, "Oh God."
And then she frantically rushes them through, gets all the things for him.
Yeah.
And then we get out of the store, okay? And then we see him track this lady, right? And track her to her home and put on
he puts like some coveralls
electrician's outfit, like someone who works with the power lines.
He's got multiple in there if you look in his trunk, because he's got like his tool bag. He's got one coverall here, and then you see he's got like a stack of coveralls on the other side. That was something I noticed like the second time, because I was looking, I was like, what else is in his trunk? And so you have like the tool bag. So he's done this multiple times where he's just like putting on these like work uniforms and then going into these people's houses. Yeah,
and he tells this lady that he's tracked all the way down to her house. "Hey, I'm here with the electric company. We're having some outages in the area. Just come and check your stuff. Be just a moment, all right?" And he rushes up the stairs. And then we get a camera shot of him going into the bathroom real quick, turning on the water, making a loud noise, and then quickly flicking the latch to the window so he can get back in later.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a kidnapper. This is the main. I would say this was probably the main bad guy of the film.
Yeah, because to some degree. You find out like the title of the movie becomes he is the barbarian.
He is the barbarian. He is the person who has caused the birth and growth of this incestuous monster. Mm-hmm. We find out that he has kidnapped all these women.
He's done some stuff.
Yeah, and then had children with these women, best way to put it.
Yeah.
And then had children with those children. Yeah. And children with those children. And we found out that this has been happening for generations.
So it's like a Resident Evil dungeon mixed with The Hills Have Eyes.
Yes, 100%.
A little Texas Chainsaw Massacre witch in there.
A little bit. Especially with the incestuous kind of connection there.
A little dash of that.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
But so we get back to AJ's character. He's running down that hallway with that bell, okay? Opens that door. The old man is still alive. Now, in the flashback, he was already like 60, 70 years old, kind of.
He may have been like... See, that actor is older.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they're implying that he's like... Because his neighbor's like in his 30s. So he's a guy who like looks older.
I mean, he could have been late 50s, but like he definitely looked older. Like...
Yeah.
It looked like he was not a gentleman of the age to be having children.
No, I was assuming he was like 40. Yeah. So this would make him in his late 70s.
Yeah, I could see
early
that.
80s.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I was thinking the timeline was.
But when AJ busts in, he's just an old, decrepit man.
Oh, yeah.
Mess all over the floor, just trash. Things. You can just see that this man has been living in this room for years. Not coming out of it.
No.
And as far as we know, that's how it's been since before AJ bought the house.
Oh, yeah.
And then AJ's trying to he's like, "Oh my God, let me help you. Because he's wanting to get him away from the monster because he doesn't understand the situation that he's in.
Yeah.
And then he takes a look over to his left. And what do we see? We see a line straight out of the Poughkeepsie tapes. So you just see a line of movie tapes and just
one
on the
thing
wall.
to know also is that TV is on when he gets in there.
Yes,
so
like he has been just recently watching it. He rewatches
dude,
those tapes.
Yeah,
100%.
He rewatches those.
Yeah.
And the bell, that creature obviously brings him stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's the bell.
Yeah.
So he's ringing the bell and she's bringing them. So she may know enough to put tapes in there. Because they're kind of just crudely stacked.
Oh,
there,
yeah. That adds a whole different connotation that I don't like.
You know? And he may have been watching them over time because he's clearly lived there. And at one point, he probably lived there very happily.
Yes.
But also, he built all these tunnels. That's the other thing.
Yes. And they're massive tunnels.
How long did it take them to build them? And that's what we're talking about. There's a whole other wing where you're just like, what the fuck's going on out there?
Yeah, I'd say the tunnels probably had the ability to go underneath the entire neighborhood.
Yeah, who knows? But yeah, so he gets in there and then he finds him. He keeps pointing to this thing over in the other corner. So he brings him some water. He doesn't want that. He keeps, he brings him the whole table eventually. And so you're like, okay, he brings him the whole table. He's searching around there. And then Justin puts in a tape because he's like, oh, okay, what's on this?
It says redhead gas station lady.
Yeah.
That's all it says.
Well, it's already in there.
Yeah.
It's already in there. He just pushes it in. And then he watches it, and they don't show you.
Yeah.
Which I do like. I do appreciate. And
Thank God.
They cut away, and he literally looks at this dude, and he's like, what the fuck's wrong with you?
You're sick.
Yeah.
You are sick. There is something wrong with you.
So now this is coming from a dude.
Who is being accused of something that's already vile.
Yeah. And trying to justify himself, being like, no, she was into that. And then see something, so you know the type of person this is. And he's watching this tape going, that's fucked up.
That's fucked up.
Yeah.
So I know I'm fucked up, but you're fucked up. So way more fucked up than I'm fucked up.
What is on this tape.
Oh, yeah. It has to be the most horrific scenes known to man.
You've seen The Room.
Well, yeah.
So you already know, you're like, okay, I've seen The Room, and now he's watching this tape, and you know that's where that stuff took place.
Yeah.
And then he embedded himself even further in here. And so, the guy pulls out a gun, and so you think he's going to kill Justin. I was like,
you think he's going to shoot Justin, because Justin's talking about, we're going to get you out of here, we're going to get the cops involved, we're going to get them, they're going to find this entire place.
Yeah.
So you think that to keep his secret, he's going to kill Justin so his compound stays a secret for as long as he's going to live.
Yeah.
But then no, he takes that gun, he points it at Justin for a second, and then he pops himself in the head.
And I thought about that, because I was like, okay, he knows he's old. So
yeah.
Like, well, maybe that's why he shoots himself. But then my second thought was, and this is where maybe he's coming from, is if this guy made it this far, I think he assumes that the daughter is dead.
Yes.
That the creature is dead.
Yes.
And so that's his protection.
Because I don't think anything could have physically made it past her.
Yeah.
Previously.
So I think that's where I was like, okay, seeing it a second time, I'm like, no, that's why he kills himself. Because he doesn't want the cops to come. Because if Justin can get out, he knows he can take him out. So even if he shoots him, like, obviously somebody's going to get in. He doesn't know there's anybody else there. There's a lot involved in this. Like, he's got a cell phone. So there's a couple things where he could have already had somebody else. And if the creature's dead, that person could be coming down there. So he's kind of, up against the wall. He can't really do anything. So his only way out, the easiest way out, is just to shoot himself. Because he knows he's not going to make it.
Yeah, and he literally, like, within 2 seconds of pointing to Justin, he literally quickly turns on something and then pulls the trigger.
Yeah, he knows he's done. Like, and so Justin takes the gun. He runs out. This is where it hard cuts the Tess.
Yes.
She's outside now. She gets in her car, and you're like, okay, she's doing the smart thing. She's leaving his ass.
Yes.
Fuck him. Because he's a douchebag.
And I was hoping for it the entire time.
Yeah.
The entire time. And it never happened. And it still doesn't happen.
No.
Because then, out of nowhere, the monster just busts through the fucking wall.
But then you know that's what her plan was. Her plan was just to wait. Because she's like, oh, it comes out at night. I'm going to wait in my car. I'm going to run this bitch over.
Yes.
So the creature comes out. She rams that bitch into the house.
Runs in, grabs Justin.
Yeah. Gets him out.
And as they're coming out, creature's gone.
Well, we missed one thing.
Oh, wait. Which?
He shoots her.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, because he has the gun, and so I knew this was coming. This is the one part of the movie you know this is going to happen, because he grabs the gun, he's coming down a dark tunnel, he's not going to be smart enough to wait.
No.
And he doesn't know
first thing that's moving, because he's already, like, you can see, he's holding his gun like this, and he's shaking.
Yeah.
He's shaking.
So she says hello, but he doesn't even pay attention. He shoots her.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh shit, now I've hurt another woman. So now he's getting this movie. He's already hurt one lady. Now he's shot another one. You know? So he picks her up. He's like bringing her out. And she's like, oh shit, the creature's gone. Yeah. And he's like, what are you talking about? And she's like, no, we gotta go. We're gonna go to the homeless guy. So they go over there.
To the water tower with the homeless guy.
And this is where you get your tiny bit of explanation of what's going on. You know, because he's like, oh no, she's lived there for 40 years. That's her dad's house. Like, when you make a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy, you get that. Yeah. And this is where you learn that that's been going on. You knew he was a serial killer and that they were having a baby, but you really didn't know how you got to that point.
Yeah, yeah.
So, you know, they're like, they're safe. You know, Justin makes this speech, which I was just like eye rolling at. You know,
he makes this speech about how maybe I'm a bad guy, but maybe I'm also just a good guy who did a bad thing. And you're just like, and I gotta solve my bad things. I gotta fix them. I gotta do right. Yeah. You know, and he's talking about Tess and how he shot Tess. But you also have this feeling that he's talking about the acts that he's done. Yeah. And you feel like it's an overwhelming redemption arc. Okay. Yeah. That's where you feel like you're starting out, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, monster just bust through them fucking walls.
Because the dude is like, I lived here for 15 years. She ain't never showed up. She
never showed up.
Buzzed through.
Snaps his neck. Rips his entire arm off. And then just puts him in an arm bar and rips that arm off. And, like, just overhand beats him.
Which is pretty great. Right. I like that, yeah. And then, so they're running away. And this is where Justin's like pure douchery comes out at its finest, because he just leaves her. He knows. The entire time, moments after his speech,
she's hobbling. She's like got a gunshot to the side, and this moments after his speech, and he's like, "We can't go over top. There's barbed wire there." And then he takes off to the left without discussing anything with her, and starts running up the water tower. Yeah. And she's like, can you hold on? Can you wait? And he's like, come on, hurry up.
Yeah, hurry up. What are you doing? It's like you got shot or something.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. And then, so they finally get to the top of the water tower. Monster's hot on their trails, right? And she's like, what about your gun, Justin? You have the gun. And he goes to pull it out, and he's so nervous, and he drops it. And it falls straight to the ground.
This is another moment where you're just like, okay, they're both going to die now.
They're both
One's going to die, she's going to die. And then this is where it goes another way. This is like I said, it subverts expectations all the way through.
Yes. 100%.
But then this is like peak douchebag here. This is where you're like, nope, this dude's an asshole. He needs to die. Like,
fuck the redemption arc. Yeah. Fuck any redeeming this character. I'm just a dick.
Yeah.
He's in says, so, one of us can make it.
It's me.
Sorry.
Shot.
Gotta have you slow her down. And then pushes her off the water tower.
Yeah, just
the monster like has like, that baby connection
because he said he's like, go get your baby.
Yeah, he tells the monster, go get your baby, and then the monster has that baby connection. You know, she's just trying to be a mama.
Yeah.
All right, and jumps down, curls Tess up, and like
that baby.
And lands. The monster lands first. Tess lands on top of her. Yeah. All right. Think they're both dead. A lot of blood on the ground. Okay? Justin comes down to check him out. He cocks the gun again. I'm assuming he's going to put a final shot in both of them because he's just that kind of a dick. And then Tess breathes. And then he starts freaking out. And he's like, just the gaslighting turns on. Like, I am so sorry. I had to. There was no other choice I had. You had already started. Like, I only touched you. And then you started falling. Yeah. And then I couldn't grab you. I don't know what happened. Butter hands.
Yeah, he's such a douche. God.
Such an asshole.
Yeah, so then, you know, he does that. She gets up. She starts to move. Because you're like, at this moment, you're like, she's going to try and kill him. Yeah. She's like, I'm done with you. You just pushed me off a water tank. Yeah. You're lucky this crazy bitch under me just saved me. So she goes to get up, and then you see the creature get up
right
pushes her back, grabs him, shoves her fingers into his eyes, and then splits his head apart.
Like,
and you're just like
yes. Popping a cantaloupe.
Yeah, and you're like,
popping a cantaloupe.
It's the most satisfying thing in a movie that I've seen in a while, because you're just like,
it was a
I assumed that he was going to die at some point, because like, there was no way they can keep him alive. But how's he going to go?
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, but this just like, blah, and then I was like, oh yeah.
Just like a fucking grape, dude.
And then there is like kind of a sad moment where you just like, the creature isn't doing anything outside of its nature.
Yeah.
You know, and you kind of come to this once you know that, like, she's just trying to, like, keep these people alive, because probably what she's done for 40 years. Keep these, like, freaks of nature alive, you know, and mother them. And so Tessa's there, and she's, like, holding her, and she can't move because she's been shot. And she's like, back, you know, like, and she's like,
honestly, it was a very heartwarming scene, because that's where the final realization comes in, that this creature is just trying to be a mama, and is just trying to
very protective.
Take care of Tess and take her back to her home.
Yeah.
What the monster considers her home, because this monster's fucked up in the head. It now considers Tess her baby. And then Tess comes up there with that 45 and just, like, slowly sneaks it up there, pops the monster in the head.
And that's still
a very
great.
sad moment.
It is, because she, like, takes her finger and she like, puts it up to her lips and then puts it on her, and she's like, baby, and then she shoots her, and you're like, oh, you know she had to do it. I mean, you know, like, you feel this, you know, moment, because you're like, this is the one she's like the ultimate victim in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, like,
everything happened to her.
Yeah.
Like, she didn't cause anything. Everything is just happening to her. Yeah.
Well, the other thing that you realize is you're like, and you don't realize, like, there's so many, like dualities between these characters that you're like, Justin's Long character is this duality of the dude in the basement.
Yes.
The barbarian, of, like, what you could become if you continued down this path.
And I think Tessa's character, honestly, eventually becomes a duality of
the creature.
And Bill's character. Because Bill had that overwhelmingly nice, altruistic fashion at the beginning.
He is what, I think that's what she assumes that is, Bill is who that character is. The other dude.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. It's this weird thing.
Yeah,
like,
I think that's why she tried to save Justin the entire time. Yeah. Is just because she thought that, okay, Keith has shown me that, you know, there are good men in this world, because she's coming out of a toxic relationship that she keeps going back into, and she's like, I had this connection with Keith. Maybe this guy's the same, and he's just a douchebag, and that's all he is.
Yep. I mean, so overall, I mean, that's basically the movie. I mean, I really enjoyed it.
It was some crazy
expectations
shit
at every moment, you know.
Yeah.
If you saw this movie this weekend, you know, let us know down below kind of what you thought. What are your favorite moments? Like I said, you can go spoiler heavy, because this is a spoiler review. So put all your spoiler thoughts down there.
Any theories? Any thoughts you got going on of what open? Because there are a lot of open-ended questions in this movie.
Definitely.
Like, don't be afraid to put them down below, because it'd be insane to see.
All right, and if you like what we do here, consider joining the collective. You can check out a couple of my other videos. We have some tier lists. We've got some horror hauls. We got a bunch of different things on the channel, and a bunch coming in the future. So, I've been Chris.
I've been Dave.
And don't forget, some doors should never be opened.
Feels like short. Yeah, that's because you are.